So we're learning that a simple painless surgery is unnecessary, and what's more, that it's not simple and it's far from painless. Back when doctors began to perform circumcision on infants instead of children, they assumed the differences they found in infant nerves meant that they were incapable of feeling pain. They would go so far as to perform open-heart surgery with nothing but a paralyzing drug. And so circumcisions were performed without anesthesia for years. The tradition of ignoring the cries of an infant being circumcised has continued, regardless of the discovery that infants in fact feel more intense pain than adults do, and that the pain has a lasting effect rather than being forgotten. Even though pain relief is recommended, many circumcisions are still performed without it. If there is a topical pain reliever, for example, EMLA cream, it may not penetrate through the folds of foreskin and the glans, penis head, where it is needed. This is where the membrane connecting the foreskin to the glans is torn away with a blunt probe. Other pain relief requires one or more injections in the groin. I have a hunch that this would be painful too. The worst of what we're learning, though, is that circumcision carries damages even if it's not considered botched. Once we believed that foreskin was just a useless flap of skin, so if the baby was lucky enough not to have one or more of the dozens of complications, like bleeding, infection, loss of other structures or entire penis, skin bridges, meatal stenosis, death, etc., then he made out okay. But now we know what the doctors of the past were trying to deny us. Not only does new research out there show us a desensitization of the glands in circumcised males and the presence of thousands of sexually responsive nerve endings and specialized structures in the foreskin, but we are stopping to think for ourselves. If it's part of a sex organ, perhaps it has a sexual purpose. If it's not a birth defect and surgery has risks, perhaps it's okay to leave it alone. And if it's on someone else's body, perhaps we should let them decide for themselves. We don't need scientists to tell us that. Some people out there still promote medical benefits from circumcision regardless of the damage, common sense, ethical issues, and, as it turns out, international statistics. Some would have you believe that circumcision will prevent the contraction of HIV. A quick look at a UN AIDS map shows that the UK, Finland, Sweden, Norway, Italy, France, Germany, Poland, China, Japan, and more nations that do not circumcise have a lower rate of HIV than the US. Most men in this country, I would wager, if told, "Congratulations, your circumcision is going to keep you from getting AIDS," would still adamantly refuse to engage in unprotected sex with someone they knew was HIV positive. Women as well would have the common sense not to believe that a man was a safe bet just because he had been circumcised. There are, after all, plenty of men in the U.S. circumcised at birth who contracted HIV from heterosexual intercourse and who have died of AIDS. That's us. We're savvy, ready to doubt, ready to check facts with a common sense that has been developed and nurtured in the prosperous USA. Now what's interesting isn't what the circumcision advocates are saying, because that's really the same, but who they're saying it to. Far away from the educated patients of the wealthy United States, in a place where the threat of contracting HIV is a looming everyday reality, shrouded in ignorance, foreign doctors with big money are being trusted, just as the doctors of our past were being trusted by us. I'm referring to the scientists in Africa trying to prove that circumcision prevents HIV infection. There are programs already in place attempting to circumcise as many men as possible, despite the fact that there has been very little research done and that it has received a great deal of professional criticism. With the zealous help of the media, circumcision is once again believed to be the newest medical miracle, and stories of the new AIDS prevention have spread like wildfire. Now, these poor, uneducated people, desperate for hope, are hearing dangerous rumors and believing them to be fact. This irresponsible and unfounded touting of circumcision as an AIDS prevention is causing trouble for Africans. A recent article from Swaziland quotes a local doctor, quote, "Many of the men I speak with think circumcision is like an AIDS vaccine," end quote. With less sexual sensation and belief of immunity, men are refusing to wear condoms, as one wife attests. Quote, "He, my husband, was circumcised and felt he didn't have to wear a condom. When we found we had HIV after testing, he blamed me," end quote. Women are abused, if not abandoned, in this scenario. An HIV support group founder is quoted as well. Quote, "Families blame women when HIV comes into the house, and it results in all sorts of abuse, from physical abuse to denial of spousal and child support and loss of property rights." End quote. Risky behavior that leads to more infections, beliefs that lead to abuse and the destruction of the family. It all renders the supposed protection of circumcision moot. Just like the loss of sexual sensation only to wear a condom anyway renders all the expense and risk of surgery moot. Speaking of expense, is it really worth the money being spent? It brings me back to my point about common sense. I don't need to see graphs or reports for something that obvious. Condoms are cheaper, safer, and more effective than surgery. Just imagine the amount of condoms and education that could be bought with all of the money spent on this research and surgical intervention. Circumcision promotion seems to be carrying on a tradition of bad science, the disregard of the value of people's lives, rights, and bodies, and the vilifying of a natural body part and all those who have it. We're getting wiser to it by the day, and by the time all of the real care for Africa takes effect, reducing HIV and AIDS, and the pushers come back to us trying to say it was circumcision that did it, we'll be ready to call it what it is. Thanks for watching.